So, Jamie, why don't you just introduce sort of the focus question and how the text set that you're developing is growing out of sort of an existing district curriculum topic?
Yeah, so what my students in third grade, their next ELA module is focusing on the ocean. So we thought about the question, what can we do to protect the ocean? Because what I've learned is that elementary students are very passionate about preserving the environment and making sure that animals are taken care of, that, that they can still enjoy the nature. So what I started with them was, we chose the book, The Vast Wonder of the World, which is about biologist Ernest Everett Just. And that story is about African-American scientist. He's a biologist. And what he discovered was if you study sea animals and any type of water animal in their natural habitat, then you can preserve them and have a better understanding of how the ecosystem lives. So from there, one of their mentor texts for the entire module was Ocean Sunlight, and by Molly Bang. And Ocean Sunlight has a lot of graphics. It talks about how animals are able to feed off of the tiny, tiny animals. And it gives really like a life cycle, but within the ocean context. And the pictures give a deep dive as well. So the next thing we did after that was my kids are very big on things that happened 100 years ago. So I went to Chronicling America, which is one of that site that we're going to focus on this evening. And there I found a newspaper from Wildwood, New Jersey. And it was 100 years ago. And there was where one of the congressmen was talking about a bill that were going to bring to pass no pollution and ocean cleanup in Wildwood, New Jersey. And the reason I chose Wildwood, New Jersey is we're in Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia, it takes about anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to get to the ocean. So fortunately, a lot of students have had the opportunity to go there. So they're able to visualize it. They can say, hey, I've been there. And Wildwood is more of a popular spot for several families. So it was a connection right away for the kids. From there, I found another little piece of information, which was a flyer, and that's from the 1950s. And the reason I chose that is because it jumped out so much. And it talked about, hey, let's build land, and please, let's have this community. But when we're thinking about that, when you build stuff so close to the ocean, what happens? There's runoff, there's all type of supply that might go into the ocean, but are we just really caring about having a wonderful place to live, or are we thinking about the environment? So that's why I selected that for the students. And we did a little notice and wonder as well. So I wanted to move them towards having some more current information. And that's why we chose Dr. John Francis, who's known as the Planet Walker. He is an African-American environmentalist. And he was so disgusted when he saw an oil spill that he took a vow of silence for 17 years. And he also did a protest walk for 27 years. And the children were horrified. How could no one talk for 17 years? But it also started sparking the questions, and they got very excited. And they were also intrigued by the fact that it was like he had a protest and a form of defiance, but for nature. And I wanted to move from there into even more current information, which is I found the USA Today article where they pulled 63,000 pounds of trash from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. But in that article, there's also some discussion of the latest technology. The last article I chose was the United Nations and how they have worked together with other countries to ensure that we are preserving the ocean. And it was a big bill that passed, that it was very, very recent. The goal of all of this, once we look at all of these documents, then we're going to do our argumentative writing. And the point of that is that so the kids I want to know what they think we should do to protect the ocean. And now they have all of this information, they're able to do that and argue for their cause.
Jamea, every time I hear you talk about this, I just sort of marvel at the work that you did, right? Because one of these texts is part of your curriculum, right? Ocean Sunlight. And then all the other texts you had to find, right? And you brought them in.
I did.
And I'm curious from like everybody else in the crowd here who's here tonight, I'm curious about like, what do you think some benefits are of pulling in both these older newspapers about building on the ocean and about these policies around pollution, as well as these newer newspaper articles. What do you think some benefits of using these texts in a unit like this are? And I'm hoping you might add something to the chat, and then we can take a minute to have maybe one or two people share. Looking at Marissa's point, I think seeing a variety of texts with their text features and also sort of the ways that people are writing about and trying to persuade people, those are all really useful for helping students then as they develop their own texts and contribute again to a conversation that has been going on, right? So I'm saying something new, but I'm also building on ideas and things from the past. So I think those are some important things. Javea, the other thing that I think is really exciting is that you have examples of scientists, of activists, you have data, you have all of these different pieces woven together here. And I want to thank you for being generous enough. You're sort of in the middle of the unit, right? And you're
Yes, we
sharing
are.
kind of where
It's
you
a
are,
work in progress. Yes.
sharing where you are. And tell me a little bit about like, so how are you figuring out how to move forward? And like, how are students' questions part of that?
Well, at first, we first started this, we just had a couple, what they've been doing is generating their own questions, which has been great. So I'm like, hey, let's write that down. So we have a sticky note and we put it on the sticky note and we're putting it on a board to work on. So it's helping them to be like, I'm the boss of what I'm thinking about and what I'm looking for.
That's great. And I think it's probably also influencing, you're doing a lot of searching for text to help them find out more information. And so that's helping you figure out what other texts do I need to bring in, right?
It does, because it also makes me, and it's a nice, because then I can think about the students I have, and then it's if this is appropriate for them. And especially, and you can tailor it a little bit more. And that's what I liked about the Chronicling America. I can take a good look at it and decide if that's a good idea for third grade.